You ever feel like your entire life is a lie? Like one day, you're living in a picture-perfect world, convinced you've got it all figured out, and the next, you find out you're the punchline to the universe's cruelest joke? Yeah. That was me. And let me tell you, there's a special kind of humiliation that comes with realizing you're the only idiot in the room who didn't see it coming. But the worst part? I wasn't just played. I was played, masterfully, strategically, and with a level of deceit that would make a con artist proud. I'm Ethan, 36 years old, and I fly planes for a living. I spent my whole career navigating storms, handling emergencies at 40,000 feet, and making split-second decisions that could mean life or death. I thought that made me a man who was in control. But when it came to my marriage, turns out, I was flying blind the whole time. I was married for 12 years to Vanessa, 34, beautiful, cultured, always the center of attention. She owned a high-end art gallery, brushed shoulders with wealthy clients, and had a way of making people feel like she was doing them a favor just by existing in their presence. We had 2 kids, Liam, 8, and Emily, 6. The only 2 people in my life I would have bet everything on. My job meant I was away a lot, sometimes a week at a time, but I never doubted Vanessa. She always assured me she liked her independence, that we had a modern marriage, that our time apart kept things exciting. What an idiot I was. The day everything unraveled, I came home early from a flight. Not planned, not expected, I just happened to swap shifts with another pilot. Thought I'd surprise my family. Maybe take the kids out, give Vanessa a break. Normal, right? Except when I walked in, the house was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. I found the kids in the living room, eyes glued to the TV like they'd been sitting there for hours. I sat down with them, asked how their day was, just making small talk. Then Liam, still focused on his Legos, casually said something that made my stomach drop. "Is the other guy coming today?" My heart stopped mid-beat. I forced myself to keep my expression neutral. "What other guy?" Liam shrugged, barely looking up. "The one who comes when you're gone. He sleeps here sometimes. But he's mean. He says we get in the way. Mom lets us watch TV so we don't bother them." That was it. That was the moment my entire reality shattered. If I had been hit by a truck right then and there, it would have been less painful. But I didn't scream. Didn't yell. Didn't flip furniture. Something inside me switched. A cold, calculating part of my brain took over. I didn't need emotions. I needed proof. I stood up, walked to my bedroom, and started searching. Everything was spotless, as always. Vanessa was meticulous. But I wasn't looking for the obvious. I checked under the bed. Nothing. Opened the closet. Nothing. And then, under the couch, I saw it. A watch. A men's watch. A Breitling. Top tier. Expensive. Definitely not mine. That's when I knew. Vanessa had been cheating. And she had been doing it right under my nose. Most people would have confronted her immediately. But I wasn't most people. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of a fight, of fake tears, of some rehearsed apology. No. I was going to play the long game. She had been lying to me for God knows how long, the least I could do was return the favor. I was going to become the best damn investigator my cheating wife had ever seen. And when I was done, she wouldn't even see the wreckage coming. You ever wake up one day and realize your whole life is a joke? Not just any joke, one where you are the punchline, and the whole damn world is in on it except for you? Yeah. That was me. And let me tell you, there's nothing quite like the feeling of realizing that the person you trusted most in the world has been playing you like a goddamn fool while you were off believing in love, loyalty, and all that fairy tale bullshit. But here's the real kicker, I didn't find out because of some big dramatic reveal. No suspicious text messages, no weird behavior, no sudden interest in self-improvement or late nights at work. No, my 8-year-old son casually blew up my entire reality like it was just another Tuesday. I'm Ethan, 36 years old, an airline pilot. I've spent my whole career navigating storms, handling mid-air emergencies, making life-or-death decisions with a steady hand, and convincing people that I always had things under control. And for a long time, I thought that extended to my personal life. I was married for 12 years to Vanessa, 34, beautiful, cultured, always the center of attention. She owned an art gallery, moved in circles filled with rich people who spent thousands on paintings they didn't understand, and had a way of making everyone in the room feel like she was the most interesting person they'd ever met. We had 2 kids, Liam, 8, and Emily, 6. They were my world. And even though my job kept me away from home for days, sometimes weeks at a time, I never once doubted Vanessa's faithfulness. She always said she liked her independence, that she needed time to focus on her career, that our time apart kept things exciting. I believed her. Like an idiot. It all started on what was supposed to be a normal day. I had swapped shifts with another pilot and came home a day early. I didn't tell Vanessa, I thought it would be a nice surprise. I walked in, expecting to be greeted with excitement, maybe some hugs from the kids, a kiss from my wife. Instead, the house was eerily quiet. Not the good kind of quiet. The kind of quiet that makes something in your gut twist before your brain even catches up. The kids were in the living room, eyes locked on the TV like they'd been watching it for hours. I sat down with them, asked about their day, not expecting anything out of the ordinary. And then, mid-conversation, while casually building something with Legos, Liam just dropped it like it was no big deal. Is the other guy coming today? I felt something in my chest tighten. I forced my voice to stay calm. What other guy? Liam barely looked up. The one who comes when you're gone. He sleeps here sometimes. But he's mean. He says we get in the way. Mom lets us watch TV so we don't bother them. And that was it. That was the moment my entire world shattered. My son, my own son, was telling me, with all the casualness of discussing his favorite cartoon, that my wife was screwing another man in our house. And suddenly, every piece of my life that I had blindly accepted as truth started unraveling in front of me. My wife's late nights, her perfectly curated excuses, the way she always seemed relieved when I left for work, all of it. I should have seen it. But I didn't. Because I was too busy being the good husband, the one who worked his ass off to give his family the best life possible, while she was busy entertaining someone else. I didn't react. Not outwardly. I didn't yell, didn't demand answers, didn't storm through the house in a rage. That's not how I'm built. I've handled engine failures at 35,000 feet. I've had passengers panic mid-flight, I've had to make snap decisions that meant the difference between life and death. I don't break under pressure. I assess. And right now, I wasn't a betrayed husband, I was a man gathering intelligence. I got up, walked to our bedroom, and started looking. Everything was as perfect as always, Vanessa was meticulous about appearances. But I wasn't looking for the obvious. I checked under the bed. Nothing. Opened the closet. Nothing. And then I knelt down, reached under the couch, and my fingers touched something cold, metallic. I pulled it out. A men's watch. Breitling. Expensive. And definitely not mine. I sat there for a moment, turning it over in my hands, feeling the weight of it. It was real. This wasn't some misunderstanding, some weird coincidence. My wife was cheating on me. In my house. Probably in my bed. And suddenly, the question wasn't if she was cheating, it was how long she had been getting away with it. Most men, at this point, would have stormed into their wife's workplace and made a scene. Maybe called her, screamed into the phone, demanded the truth. But I wasn't most men. I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction. No, I was going to play this the way she had played me. Calculated. Cold. I was going to be patient. I was going to be smart. She had spent God knows how long lying to me, thinking I was some fool who would never catch on. But what she didn't know was that I had just shifted into an entirely new mode. I was done being the good husband. Now, I was about to become her worst nightmare. Have you ever looked at someone you love and realized they were a stranger? Like, you've spent years of your life building something with them, memories, a home, a family, only to find out that they've been living an entirely different life behind your back? It's a special kind of hell. The kind that doesn't hit all at once but creeps in slowly, poisoning everything you thought was real. And the worst part? Knowing that while you were busy being faithful, loyal, and committed, they were out there making a fool out of you, lying to your face with the same mouth they used to say, "I love you." I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was sad, sadness was a luxury I couldn't afford. I was focused. Calculating. I sat in my own house, in the dark, holding that stranger's expensive watch, staring at it like it held all the answers. Who was he? How long had this been going on? And, most importantly, how the hell had I not seen it before? But that was the thing, Vanessa was good. Too good. She knew exactly how to cover her tracks, how to play the role of the devoted wife while sneaking around with some other guy. And if it wasn't for Liam's innocent little comment, I probably never would have known. That thought made my blood run cold. How long had I been living in this fantasy, believing my marriage was solid while my wife was sleeping with another man in my bed? Weeks? Months? Years? I needed answers. And I needed them fast. But I wasn't going to confront Vanessa. Not yet. That would be too easy. No, I wanted to watch her squirm. I wanted her to go about her days, smiling at me, telling me she loved me, completely unaware that I knew. I wanted her to dig her own grave. The first thing I did? I set up a camera in our bedroom. Not some cheap, obvious thing, no, I invested in a high-quality, motion-activated hidden camera that blended seamlessly into the room. If she was stupid enough to bring him back here again, I was going to catch everything. Then, I went through her phone records. She thought she was smart, deleting messages, clearing call logs, but she didn't realize that our phone bill kept a detailed record of every number she contacted. And guess what? There was one recurring number that popped up a lot. Late at night. Early in the morning. Random times during the day. A number that wasn't saved under a name, but was called far too often to be just a friend or client. I copied it down. My hands were steady. No hesitation. Then I ran it through a reverse phone lookup. And there it was. A name. Ryan Carter. Who the fuck was Ryan Carter? I didn't recognize the name. It wasn't one of our mutual friends. It wasn't a family member. And judging by how often she was calling him, I had a very good guess as to what role he played in my marriage. But I needed more. I needed to see him. I spent the next day watching Vanessa like a hawk. Every movement, every glance at her phone, every slight change in expression. And once you know someone is lying to you, it becomes so obvious. The fake smiles. The distant look in her eyes when she thought I wasn't paying attention. The way she'd casually disappear into another room to check her phone. And here's the thing, I had never been a paranoid husband. I never felt the need to track her movements, check her messages, question her about her day. But now that I realized just how much I had missed. That evening, I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed my own wife. She told me she had a gallery event to attend. Something important, something networking related. I kissed her goodbye, told her to have a great time. Then, the second she left, I grabbed my keys and tailed her. I was careful. Kept my distance. Stayed a few cars behind. And sure enough, she wasn't going to any art event. She drove right to a high-end restaurant on the other side of town. And that's when I saw him. Ryan Carter. Tall. Well-dressed. Cocky. The kind of guy who oozes fake charm and thinks he's untouchable. I watched from my car as Vanessa greeted him with a smile I hadn't seen in years. The way she lit up around him, the way she leaned in just a little too close. And then, the final nail in the coffin, she kissed him. Not just some friendly peck. A full, intimate, lingering kiss. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My heartbeat was slow. Steady. I wasn't angry. No, I was calm. Because now, I knew. No more guessing. No more wondering. My wife wasn't just cheating on me. She was in love with someone else. And that? That was far worse. There's a moment when everything you thought you knew about your life shatters. It's not like in the movies where the guy punches a wall, screams into the void, or drowns himself in whiskey. No. It's quieter than that. It's the kind of realization that settles deep into your bones, cold and unwavering. Watching my wife kiss another man in a dimly lit restaurant wasn't just a betrayal, it was confirmation. Proof that everything I believed in, every sacrifice I had made for this marriage, was a goddamn joke. And the worst part? She had no idea I was watching. She had no idea that I knew. But that was about to change. I stayed parked across the street, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my fingers ached. My first instinct? Get out of the car. Walk right into that restaurant. Sit down at their table, maybe order myself a drink, and watch the color drain from her face as she realized her little secret wasn't a secret anymore. But that was too easy. Too obvious. I wasn't going to give her that. I wanted her to feel this. I wanted her to think she was safe. To keep lying, keep sneaking around, completely unaware that she was walking into the biggest mistake of her life. So I waited. I watched as they laughed, as they whispered across the table, as she looked at him the way she used to look at me. And then, after about an hour, they left together. I expected them to part ways in the parking lot. Maybe a quick goodbye, a lingering kiss. But no. They got into his car. My stomach twisted, but I stayed calm. I started my car, trailing them from a safe distance, headlights off. If there was any part of me that still wanted to believe this was just a mistake, that maybe I had misread things, that maybe this wasn't as bad as it seemed, those hopes were obliterated the second they pulled up to a high-end hotel downtown. She wasn't even trying to hide it. I parked a block away, heart hammering in my chest, but my mind was clear. I needed evidence. Real, undeniable evidence. So I grabbed my phone, got out of the car, and followed them. They walked straight through the lobby like any other couple, Vanessa's arm hooked around his like she belonged to him. My wife. The mother of my kids. I clenched my jaw, breathing slow and steady. I wasn't going to lose it. Not yet. I watched as they checked in at the front desk, Vanessa giggling at whatever dumbass comment Ryan had just made. The receptionist handed him a key, and they disappeared into the elevator. Perfect. I walked up to the front desk, forcing my voice to stay casual. Hey, man, I think I just saw my buddy Ryan go up, but I forgot his room number. Can you remind me? I slid a $50 bill across the counter, and the receptionist barely hesitated before responding. Room 1123. I nodded, pocketed my phone, and headed for the stairs. No way in hell was I taking the elevator. I needed time to think. Needed to figure out exactly how I was going to play this. 100 different scenarios ran through my mind, busting into the room, catching them in the act, making a scene. But none of them were good enough. I didn't just want to confront her. I wanted to destroy her. I reached the 11th floor and moved down the hall, stopping in front of room 1123. I could hear them inside. Faint voices. Laughter. My blood boiled, but I forced myself to focus. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Then, I reached into my pocket and pulled out something I always carried with me, an emergency flight keycard. Thin, flat, easy to slide between the door and the lock. Hotels were easy. No deadbolts, just electronic latches. A second later, I was inside. The room was dimly lit, the curtains drawn. Vanessa was sitting on the edge of the bed, her heels kicked off, laughing as Ryan poured them drinks from the minibar. Neither of them noticed me at first. But when I stepped forward, letting the door click shut behind me, Vanessa turned. And her face fell. She gasped, nearly dropping her glass, eyes wide with pure, unfiltered terror. Ryan, on the other hand, just blinked at me, confused, like he was trying to process who the hell had just walked into his hotel room. And then, slowly, realization dawned on his stupid, smug face. "Oh," he muttered. "Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, shit was right." Vanessa scrambled to her feet, stammering, "Ethan, I can explain." I held up my phone, showing her the recording. "No need," I said, voice cold and steady. "You already did." Her mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. Ryan, to his credit, didn't try to play dumb. He just stood there, staring at me, before glancing at Vanessa like he was just now realizing how deep in shit he was. Good. Let it sink in. Let them both feel it. I pocketed my phone and stepped forward. Ryan tensed, like he thought I was about to hit him. And trust me, I wanted to. Every muscle in my body screamed at me to knock his teeth in, to make him feel even a fraction of the pain I was feeling. But I didn't. Because that would be too easy. Instead, I smiled. Calm. Collected. "You know," I said, looking at Vanessa, "I was going to wait. I was going to gather more evidence. Make this hurt a lot worse. But then I thought, why wait? Why not give you exactly what you deserve right now?" Her face was ghost white. "Ethan, please." I pulled out a manila envelope from my jacket pocket and tossed it onto the bed. Vanessa flinched like it was a bomb. Ryan frowned, glancing at it. "What's that?" I crossed my arms. "Divorce papers." Silence. Thick. Suffocating. Vanessa's hands shook as she reached for the envelope, opening it with trembling fingers. Her eyes darted over the contents, legal jargon, asset division, custody arrangements. And then, when she reached the last page, her breath hitched. Wait, what is this? Full custody." I nodded, my heart pounding. "You think a judge is going to give you anything after this?" I gestured around the room. "After I show them this?" I held up my phone again, the screen still recording. She let out a choked sob, hands gripping the papers so tightly they crumpled. Ryan took a slow step back, like he was suddenly realizing that maybe, just maybe, he had made a mistake. I turned, walking toward the door. Before I left, I glanced over my shoulder. "Oh, and by the way?" I smirked. "That watch you left at my house? Looks great on eBay." And with that, I walked out, leaving them both in the wreckage. There's a moment right before impact, whether it's a car crash, a plane going down, or a life falling apart, where time slows. You know what's coming. You see it, feel it in every nerve of your body. And yet, you can't stop it. That was the moment Vanessa was in when I walked out of that hotel room. The moment where the reality of her choices, her betrayal, finally slammed into her at full speed. But here's the thing, this wasn't over. Not even close. You don't just cheat on someone who's given you everything and expect to walk away unscathed. No, I had only just begun. I didn't sleep that night. I barely even went home. Instead, I drove around the city, windows down, letting the cold night air keep me awake as I replayed every single moment over in my head. The look on her face when she saw me in that hotel room. The way her hands shook when she opened those divorce papers. The sheer panic in her voice. And Ryan? That smug, self-satisfied asshole who thought he could just walk into my life, take my wife, and get away with it? He had no idea who he was dealing with. The next morning, I started phase 2. Vanessa was still in damage control mode. She called me 12 times between 6 a.m. and noon. Left voicemails. Sent long, desperate texts. Ethan, please, let's talk. Ethan, I made a mistake. Ethan, don't do this to the kids. Right. I'm the one doing this to the kids. Not the woman who was screwing some guy in a hotel while our children were at home, clueless. I ignored every single message. Silence was power. Then, I did something that would haunt Vanessa for a long, long time. See, most people in her position? They panic and try to control the fallout. They rush to friends and family, tell their own version of events first, paint themselves as misunderstood, a victim of circumstances. I wasn't going to give her that chance. I was going to set the narrative before she could even open her mouth. I made a few phone calls. First, to her parents. They had always loved me, respected me, treated me like the son they never had. I didn't go into detail. Just told them the truth, Vanessa cheated. I caught her. The marriage is over. I let them hear the exhaustion in my voice, the quiet heartbreak. They were stunned. Shocked. And, most importantly, furious at their daughter. She's coming over to talk, her father said, voice tight with controlled anger. We'll get to the bottom of this. Good. Let her try to explain this to them. Let her feel the weight of their disappointment. Next, I called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, the best damn divorce attorney in the city. The kind who lives for cases like this. Ruthless, aggressive, and brilliant. We met in person within the hour. I laid everything out, the evidence, the affair, the neglect of our kids. I told him I wanted full custody, the house, everything. And the best part? The hotel footage. Turns out, hotels have security cameras everywhere. A few well-placed requests and boom, I had crystal clear video of Vanessa walking into that room with Ryan, laughing, looking happy, looking guilty as hell. By the time I left the lawyer's office, I had a battle plan. I drove back home. When I walked through the door, Vanessa was there, waiting. She looked like she hadn't slept, her face pale, eyes puffy. Ethan, she started, stepping forward like she thought she could fix this. I held up a hand. Don't. My voice was flat. Empty. She swallowed, her hands wringing together. Please. Just let me explain. There's nothing to explain. I walked past her, into the kitchen, grabbing a glass of water like she wasn't even there. She followed, desperate now. It wasn't what you think, she rushed out. It was a mistake, a one-time thing. I laughed. I actually laughed, shaking my head. One-time thing? You're a terrible liar, Vanessa. I turned to face her. How long? She hesitated. That split second of hesitation told me everything. Months? I guessed. No answer. A year? Her eyes flicked away. Holy shit. A year. Something inside me twisted, but I didn't let it show. Right. Well, thanks for the confirmation, Ethan. I held up my phone, scrolling to my lawyer's email. You have until the end of the week to move out. Her face crumpled. No. You can't just. I can. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. You don't have a leg to stand on. I have proof. I have witnesses. You don't just get to ruin this family and walk away like nothing happened. Tears welled up in her eyes. Please. Think about the kids. The kids? My voice finally snapped. You mean the ones you ignored while you were screwing some guy in a hotel? Those kids? Don't act like you give a damn about them now. She sobbed. Real, gut-wrenching sobs. Maybe they were genuine. Maybe they weren't. I didn't care. I turned and walked away. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Next up? Ryan Carter. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about justice. There's something that happens when a man reaches the breaking point. It's not loud. It's not some dramatic explosion. No, it's cold. Controlled. It's the moment where the pain, the anger, the betrayal all condense into something razor-sharp. That was me. I wasn't just some heartbroken husband anymore. I wasn't some guy drowning in self-pity, mourning the loss of my marriage. No. I was past that. I was clear-headed. I had a plan. And at the top of my list? Ryan Carter. My wife's little plaything. The man who had the audacity to walk into my life and take what wasn't his. And worst of all, he thought he was getting away with it. That was about to change. I spent the next day digging into him. A name and a phone number were enough to start. Turns out, Ryan Carter wasn't just some random guy. He was a married man. Oh yeah. Vanessa had been playing the other woman in his life just like he had been the other man in mine. And the best part? His wife, Emily Carter, had no idea. Yet. That wouldn't last long. A few quick searches and I had everything I needed. Their address. Their family photos. Their 2 kids. Something twisted in my chest when I saw that. This wasn't just about me anymore. There were 2 other kids caught up in this mess, just like mine. And suddenly, this wasn't just about revenge. This was about wrecking him. I waited until evening. Then, I parked down the street from his house, phone in hand, heart steady. I wasn't going in guns blazing. That would be too easy. Instead, I sent Emily Carter a simple text from an anonymous number. Check your husband's recent hotel receipts. Room 1123, downtown. Security footage available upon request. I hit send and leaned back, watching. The message was a bomb, and I had just lit the fuse. It didn't take long. 15 minutes later, the lights inside the Carter house flared to life. A shadow moved past the window, Emily, pacing, phone in hand. Then another shadow, Ryan. His body language said it all. He was panicking. Good. I didn't leave. I wanted to see it. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. Then, just as I was about to call it a night, the front door slammed open. Ryan stormed out, looking furious. His car peeled out of the driveway like a bat out of hell. I smirked. He had no idea what was coming next. I followed him. Not close enough to be obvious, but close enough to know exactly where he was headed. He wasn't going to a bar. He wasn't going to a friend's house. No. He was going straight to Vanessa's. My soon-to-be ex-wife's house. By the time I got there, Ryan was already inside. I parked down the street, walked up to the house like I belonged there, and listened. Voices. Yelling. Vanessa's voice, high-pitched, desperate. Ryan's voice, angry, accusing. I smiled. They were turning on each other already. I pulled out my phone, recording as I moved closer to the window. The living room curtains were open just enough. I could see them. Vanessa, pacing, hands in her hair. Ryan, standing rigid, his face red with fury. I couldn't hear every word, but I didn't need to. The body language said it all. She's trying to calm him down. He's not buying it. He's blaming her. Beautiful. And then? The moment that made it all worth it. Ryan grabbed Vanessa's phone and threw it against the wall. Shattered it. Vanessa screamed something, probably about how he was being crazy, but Ryan wasn't listening. His fists were clenched, his whole body tensed. That's when I stepped back, pulled up my phone, and made my next move. I didn't even have to lie. Just calmly told the dispatcher that I was a concerned neighbor, that I saw a man force his way into the house, that I heard yelling, that it sounded bad. Within 5 minutes, the red and blue lights were flashing down the street. I stepped back into the shadows, watching as officers walked up to the front door. The knock. The hesitation. Then the door opening. Vanessa's panicked face. Ryan's furious expression. And then? Just like that, Ryan Carter was in handcuffs. I watched from my spot in the dark as he was led to the squad car. Vanessa was crying. Maybe from stress. Maybe from fear. Maybe because she had just realized that the man she blew up her entire life for was not her knight in shining armor. The moment they shut the car door on Ryan, I turned and walked away. My work here was done. By the time I got home, my phone was blowing up. Vanessa. Vanessa's parents. Even Emily Carter. I ignored every call. Every message. Instead, I sat back, stared at the ceiling, and felt something I hadn't felt in days. Peace. Vanessa had lost everything. Ryan had lost everything. And me? I was free.